thank you everyone for joining us today and your busy day. Online Business Systems and GTACC are proud to welcome you to our webinar today, Future Proof Your Contact Center and Learning How to Use Large Language Models Within the Modern Contact Center. Sangeeta from GTACC was planning on being here today, but unfortunately she's a little under the weather, so won't be able to join us, but we do thank her for helping us solicit attendance today and sharing this webinar invite with the larger GTACC market. So, and thank you everyone for attending. We encourage people to communicate with questions as they come up throughout the presentation, to please also use the Q&A portion within the toolbar of the team set. We have muted microphones and disabled cameras, so not to worry in that regard, but we welcome to questions submitted through that mechanism, and we will endeavor our best to answer them as we move forward. Let's see. Yes, so hopefully the webinar topic piqued some interest. During this session, we're hoping to have a little bit of back and forth chat about LLMs, where they're positioned somewhat today, somewhat about their usefulness and how they may work within the contact center. And then we're hoping to walk through a bit of a live demo of some examples that we've implemented LLMs to help assist day-to-day lives of contact center functionality. So with that being said, we'll move forward and tell us a little bit about ourselves. So once again, my name is Chris Terrio. I am the Senior Director of the Customer Engagement Practice at Online Business Systems. I've worked in the contact center space for 20 years now with contact center technologies from varying platforms. And I run the operations and sales support of day-to-day here within our practice. And with me today are two of my colleagues, the first being David Berenson. I'll throw it over to David to introduce himself.
Folks, it's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm David Berenson. I'm a senior consultant in the customer engagement practice out online. I'm not going to say how much longer than 20 years I've been in the contact center space, because I want everybody to think Chris is older than I am. But I've been in a number of roles, from enterprise solution architect to program manager and privacy officer. And currently my focus at Online is to lead the AI and IVA team.
Perfect. Thanks, David. And along with us today as well is Susan Bornston. Susan, do you want to introduce yourself? Sorry, Susan, you're on mute. Let's take yourself off.
Thank you, Chris. Well, welcome, everyone. I'm Susan Bornstein. I'm the Business Development Manager for our Customer Experience line of business. I work with David and Chris on a day-to-day basis. I've been in the contact center industry for over 3 decades and been involved in AI and automation for a good 2 decades. So we look forward to speaking to you about this and showing you what we can do.
Fantastic. Thanks, Susan. Thanks, David. Moving on. So we are excited to be here today to talk about a topic that I'm sure everyone is also well aware of. It's kind of the buzz topic of the year, and I'm sure it's on top of everyone's mind. But for those who don't know about Online, maybe a little bit of background. We are a digital transformation and customer experience cybersecurity consulting company. We have just celebrated 37 years of continued business with offices throughout North America, the US, and now in EMEA. We are very much focused on digital transformation and specifically with customer engagement. And almost on a daily basis, we are having conversations with clients who are quite excited about where things are going and how LLMs are revolutionizing our industry. So that being said, maybe we'll take a little bit more focus on Online, moving from Online to our practice. So, why Online Business Systems? We are all about contact center modernization. We've been dealing in the contact center technology industry for about 16 years now. And our team of highly qualified and highly tenured contact center specialists have completed more than 1,000 contact center projects in that time frame. So quite a good resume has been compiled about work being done within the contact center space. And even the experience of our team is quite tenured. So on average, we have about 18 years of experience within the industry throughout our practice. And we'd be remiss if we didn't kind of show our mandatory logo slide or logo compilation of some of the companies that we've worked with within the contact center space. So quite excited to talk about any of those too down the line, should it be needed. So maybe we can have a look and say, why is it time to make a change? So some of our industry partners focusing in on this, Gartner and Forrester, have some quite poignant stats that we've come across. So maybe just to touch on a couple, 38% of leaders see improving customer experience and retention as a primary purpose of initiatives to deploy applications using LLMs. So it is being talked about. It is an important topic that's out there. We're hearing about it every day about how we get started with large language model space. Forrester says by next year, 10% of operational processes will use LLM-infused digital coworkers. So leveraging that LLM space with a virtual virtual agent or automation mechanism in the contact center space. And this last one is quite a standout statistic. 2025, Gartner said 80% of customer service and support organizations will be applying generative AI. It's quite high. We can see that is, I'd like to see in 2025 if that stat has been released, but everyone right now is talking about it. Everyone has ambition to see how it can help, how to implement it. Let's get on that execution path to meet that 2025 date. Quite exciting. All right. So what are we doing about LLMs? So LLMs, it's, like I said, the buzzword of the year and is out there and everyone is talking about it. So maybe I can tap on David just to talk a little bit about what are LLMs and why are they maybe so important for the contact center?
So why it's important for the contact center? Absolutely fascinating. I could literally speak about this for hours. I know I have about, 3 minutes, Chris? So let me boil it down just a little bit. So if we think about how we're doing things like IVA, interactive virtual assistants in the contact center today, right? We think about what might the customer say, what's their intent in saying it. Let's provide some sort of functionality in order to make that happen, right? And this tends to multiply in complexity as you add languages, English, French, Spanish, etc. You're thinking about the vocabulary for each of these, individually. And then you think about tuning it on an ongoing basis, especially if you're a large enterprise with tens of thousands of calls that you're going to go through to, look for new things people are asking for. It becomes quite a chore, right? And it's all about trying to understand what people are saying. So with large language models, what we're calling AI, and I'm sure people understand, there's not really artificial intelligence here. This is about language recognition. These are massive engines built on billions of documents worth of training that have the ability to understand all languages, at the press of a button. So we're talking English, French, Spanish, even street speak, slang languages. These are all readily digestible by a large language model so that we can understand the core of what somebody's saying and distill things from it, things like sentiment, things like topics. We can then summarize it. We can do all these things with these very powerful language interpretive tools that we're calling large language models. So if you think about what I shared before regarding IVAs, all that work in understanding language, well, quite a large amount of it is built in. You can give a large language model whatever you want, and it will be able to understand it. You then have to give it the right instructions to distill things from it. So it makes your development quite a lot easier. It makes your ongoing tuning of it quite a lot easier.
Yeah, we see reduced delivery times, I guess, when you leverage LLMs from something that was maybe we're more familiar with from historical purpose, NLPs or NLUs, where tuning and creating intents were more time intensive, I guess, for lack of a better term.
time intensive and certainly not based on the large sample of documents and expressions that large language models are.
I think there's power in LLMs too. I mean, there's the ability to converse in the tone or persona that would be desired. I mean, there's an ability to converse at a level and meet people where they maybe want to be met or are more comfortable being met too. I think that's one of the LLMs.
Yeah, that's one of the things that energizes me most about contact centers. People have the desire to communicate using the channel that they want and using the vocabulary that they want, right? Everybody wants to express themselves the way they're comfortable because they feel they're at the best chance of making themselves understood. Some people might want a text. Some people might want a voice call, English, French, Spanish again. So for me, large language models are the key to bringing forth that era of really superior customer experience because you're giving people the power to express themselves as they want to, and then you can then take information from it as you need to in order to service them with complete clarity and ideally first contact resolution.
I think that's a good point, David. You made reference there to the channels, but LLMs also deliver kind of streamlined efficiencies for being able to function across multiple channels, whereas maybe you would have had to craft intents based on the channel. I don't know if there's more deeper dive into that for you to.
Actually, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Chris. So let's think again. Best practice right now, when you're doing an IVA, you would have one agent that understands people when they speak. You'd have another agent that understands people when they chat, because people express themselves differently. With a large language model, we don't care, because the large language model will take whatever transcription you give it. Actually, I'll back up for a second, or in a second rather, but it'll take whatever transcription you give it, and it will, again, help you distill the information from it. Now, you can always go a step further, and you can say, well, for this voice call, I want to understand the subtler aspects of what's going on. I want to understand what emotion somebody's experiencing. Are they angry or sad or whatever in real time? We'll touch a little bit more on the different services later on, but I mean, you can add levels of sophistication to it. But at its very core, we can take a transcription, put it through a language model, regardless of what channel it came from. Voice, social, email, etc. It's all one and the same when it comes to a large language model.
Very good. And I know for a fact, Online has a innovation lab in-house who's been looking at large language models quite actively and looking for ways that it could be leveraged, kind of led us to today. So with that being said, I think we have the ability to demo something that we've been working on in our innovation lab, showing some contact center specific functionality.
We do indeed. So folks, what I'm going to share with you right now is an email-based demo, right? So I have a Five9 contact center set up, and as a brief segue, this doesn't have to be attached to Five9. The AI service that we've stood up is totally platform agnostic. We could connect to it from Avaya, from Genesis, from Five9. It's all about, we gather a transcription, we provide it to the service. The service then works its magic and responds back to the contact center platform. So while Five9 is an excellent platform that I'd recommend to anyone, it doesn't have to be Five9. That said, so I've got a couple of emails in queue here. Actually, let me share my screen with you folks. Okay, so I've got my Five9 contact center set up here. And pardon me, we can see here on the left that I've got a couple of emails in queue, right? I'm logged in, I'm ready, and I'm seeing a preview for one of them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on this little lock icon, which says, hey, yes, I want to claim this out of the queue, and I want to process it. So what's happened here? Well, what's happened is the email's been actually allocated to me. The AI service has been invoked, and we've taken a look at it to see who's contacting us. We understand what campaign it's from, the contact type, bread and butter type things. Now, what we've done is, we've had the AI take a look and try and glean sentiment. How is the customer feeling during their contact? And we've got this on a very simple 5-point scale from extremely angry to extremely happy, with neutral being in the middle. So we've identified that this person's contact is a neutral sentiment, not feeling one way or the other. And they're talking a little bit about some things without a clear call to action. And then we're saying here, I'd like to confirm what my copay is. So from the copay, we've identified we're talking about filing a claim, or that they might want to file a claim. We've also summarized this down to a couple of lines, where we might have several paragraphs here to help an agent get their head around what's going on really quickly. We look for the key topics and we summarize everything, with the transcript down below, just as it is over here on the left-hand side. So a few really interesting things have happened here. We've got sentiment, we've got a classification, and a summary. Now, everybody in the contact center space, the wheels are probably turning right now. Well, if we have a classification, well, that can very easily map to a skill, or maybe a targeted set of skills, with overflow as need be. With sentiment, you could say, well, that could map to somebody's skill level in a contact center. Hey, the happy customers, they can all go to the junior agents because they'll be easy to deal with. The angry customers, well, let's send them to the senior folks, who are rated the highest, because that way we're best suited to retain people if they're thinking about leaving or creating further escalation. Right? So just these two things right here give us some power to better use the skills that we have. And I want to segue for just a second to talk about the omni-channel aspect of this. As you can see, email by definition, it's a transcript, right? But as I was sharing before, if you had a chat, a chat widget on your web page, or say somebody was sending you something through WhatsApp or Viber or something like that, right? All of these transcripts can be analyzed in the same way. However, somebody's choosing to engage with you, right? We can actually use this exact same service to service the channel. Voice, as I was saying before, is a bit different because we may choose to use the transcript, or we could go a little bit deeper and look at the actual voice itself and analyze it for things like various emotions. Okay? Now, this is a pretty vanilla example in and of itself. Right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a disposition on this, and I have another example here. And this is one of the things that really energizes me. LLMs, doing multiple languages, English, French, Spanish, etc. That's all well and good. That's out of the box type functionality that we can do very easily. But what I love about this example is taking street speak, right? A way that, a 15-year-old might talk. Actually, I asked ChatGPT to create this for me as a 15-year-old, right? Yo, what's up? Etc. etc. I'm not going to read this. I will just sound completely silly. But what I wanted to share is that you're giving people who don't even speak proper English, for whatever reason, whether it's choice, whether it's ESL, whatever the case, you're giving them the ability to express themselves as they want. And we can now take from this, hey, they're somewhat happy. They're talking about how they filed a claim, and we've got a very simple summary here. Hey, this is great. I had an amazing service. Thanks so much. Right? So if we now take these couple of examples, and you've got the accessibility aspect, regardless of language or level of language that you're using, let's consider that you track this over time. Well, now you have a richer data set on your clients. How has Chris Terrio been feeling about us for the last 3 or 4 or 12 times he's called? Is he positive? Is he negative? You can look at how somebody is tactically. Oh, Chris is angry today. Better send him over to Susan, because she's a more senior agent. Or we could say, this has been angry for a while. but now he's feeling happier. We're turning this relationship around. You can look at the trend that you're getting from Chris's contacts. It's really very powerful.
It's almost a powerful way to revolutionize or rethink the feedback process, the survey process, because surveys are inherently biased. You're a limited subset of people who enjoy responding to surveys or are motivated enough to respond to a survey. So you're getting only a subset. If there's an ability to 100% analyze what's being done and leveraging some of that for analytics down the road, you can see how that could be, a vaulting improvement when it comes to analyzing quality.
100%, Chris.
Dave, maybe a question for you. Some concerns that are out there in the media. I mean, we're all familiar with ChatGPT and its leverage on an open source or open AI. So, being, from the corporate world, some concerns will be expressed about privacy or security or even what we call hallucination, where, responses are nonsensical or not controlled or gated, which is something you'd want to avoid when interacting with a customer. Are those things considered here, or are there considerations that could avoid any of those problems that could be presented?
So I've waxed pretty poetic as to some of the easy, great out of the box things that LLMs can do, but there's a whole suite of things to think about as you're bringing LLMs into a contact center or as you're even considering doing that. Okay. You heard me say that I was a privacy officer before, so always in the back of my mind is this key phrase, privacy by design, making sure that we design privacy from the get-go. Okay, and what that means here is not only what data are you using, right, but where is it coming from, where is it traveling, right, and where does it sit, right? Having to look at this. Some of you may be familiar with some of the news stories that have come out about law firms and things like that have used ChatGPT, sending private information, even across the border to the United States, right? That is by definition a privacy violation, on a national scale. So understanding things like that, making sure that, for example, for an insurance company, or another health provider that we're currently working with, making sure that the data transits only in Canada, sits in, a certain grade of data store to make sure that it's secure. Right? Privacy is a key central thing here. Obviously we have the architecture best practices, where we're wanting to use cloud architecture best practices for scalability, flexibility, etc. Especially in the enterprise space when we're talking about, 3, 4, 5 different channels, all using the same service. You can very easily have tens of thousands of contacts using it, right, simultaneously. But one of the key things I want everybody to think about are the fact that we're trying to address business requirements. And in order to address business requirements, we have to have the right tool for the job. If any of you go to Google and you were to search on the wheel of AI, I'm not sure if that's the exact phrase that I use, but there's literally a diagram that you can find, if not that easily, then almost that easily, with dozens and dozens of AI services on it. So just imagine that was all that we had to pick from, and there's actually more. Understanding which ones to use, that obey privacy, that are scalable and flexible, that you can use across channels, all of this comes to mind, right? So it's by no means an easy job, but it's something that certainly as we've developed our practice, we've become accustomed to doing.
Awesome, wonderful. I'm going to take back sharing here and just kind of a bit of a recap slide for some of the advantages that we've seen. So David, can I invite you to maybe step through what we saw in the demo and how it may relate here as things we've accomplished?
So in the demonstration, we took a look at 3 things that we distilled simply from a transcript. We looked for the sentiment. How is somebody feeling when they contact us? What is their area of interest? Let's classify it so we can get it to the right skill. And we did a summary of whatever was in the transcript to make sure that we can help an agent get out of the gate. Right? We delivered that with a screen pop, which is bread and butter type things in a contact center today. But most importantly, we did it using a service which we can use regardless of channel. Right? So tuning English voice, tuning French voice, tuning English chat, tuning French chat, etc. No more of that specific type of work. Now we're simply tuning an AI service. Right? We're actually using one service which is simplified, which is quicker to get out the gate. Right? And it's delivering us data which enriches what we know about our client, both in the moment and over time. But we did it using a service which is cognizant of privacy requirements, which is scalable, and we're using, actually in this case, we're using 3 different AI models in order to get the job done. We picked models that are fit to purpose, which, as I was saying, was, one of the most core things that I want everybody to take away from this. In order to do the requirement right, we have to pick the service right.
Very good. I want to maybe add on to the end of that. I mean, this is a great demo, and obviously we're leveraging AI in the background to show a real world example. But there are a couple others that we're engaged with some clients, some real world examples of implementing some of this. So in one instance, we're taking voice recordings, transcribing them and submitting them to an AI to do that very summarization and sentiment analysis, to then augment reporting and analytics. So empowering this organization to then leverage and classify what the intent of some of these call recordings would be. Another example, we are leveraging very close to what we saw in the demo, classifying, assigning sentiment, and summarizing emails, with the eventual evolution to then have the LLM maybe start to craft suggested responses that then gets delivered back to the agent. So an ability there to understand what's there, and with tuning of the LLM, we can then hone in and offer up to the agent a suggested response that they have the ability to modify if there's something that's not quite right. But the intent there is to identify what are the easy low-hanging fruit ones where the LLM is 100% accurate with the tuning provided. Maybe those could be offloaded as an automated process outside of the agent's purview. So some powerful stuff there that's being accomplished, and quite exciting stuff that you can see the efficiencies of automation that are kind of offered up.
Yep, that's a really good point, Chris. AI is not just for the customer side of things, it's also to support the agent or to support your analytics team.
Very powerful.
There's really something in it for everybody.
Very good. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you, David, for all that. At this time, I'm going to hand it over to Susan, and Susan can help wrap us up here.
So thank you, David, for a wonderful demo, and Chris. I know when I first saw David's demo, having sold automation over the last 2 decades, I got really excited, especially when it came to the ability to include people who don't speak the way we normally speak, to be able to understand them and move that forward. So what we'd like to do with you is we'd like to have conversations, a free 60-minute call, to discuss how we can use LLMs in your contact center, specific to your needs. As David discussed, this is not something that's evident to a lot of people, and you need a lot of skill to hone in on which services are you going to use and why, and what are the use cases that will apply and help your business, be it, like David said, on the agent side or on the customer side. So with that, we welcome you to book your free session, 60-minute free session with us, or you can email me. My contact information is included on the slide, and we absolutely look forward to hearing from you.
Perfect. And one last thing to wrap up, I may have failed to mention at the beginning that this recording will be provided to anyone who signed up, or all attendees. So all the information that you see, even the contact information, will be made available to everyone. So looking forward to that. Thank you, David. Thank you, Susan. This has been a great little session and very informative. And thank you to everyone for taking time out of your busy day to join us today and listen to how LLMs can help you in your contact center. We look forward to talking to you down the road. Thank you.